Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome back to the End Zone Report. I'm your host, bringing you the latest, most intense breakdown of everything happening in the National Football League, with a laser focus, as always, on our beloved, often bewildering, New York Football Giants. What an era of turmoil and anticipation it is for the Big Blue faithful. The air around MetLife Stadium, that hallowed, yet recently haunted ground, is thick with two things: the smell of tailgate charcoal and the relentless echoing calls from the fanbase for a complete organizational overhaul. Every Sunday feels like a high-stakes drama, and right now, the spotlight, the intense, searing spotlight, isn't just on the players on the field, but on the man in the front office, General Manager Joe Schoen. The chatter on social media, the columns in the papers, the passionate outbursts on sports radio, they all demand a clean slate. Fire everyone, is the mantra. But hold the phone, folks, because according to some very well-placed sources around the league, the picture surrounding Joe Schoen's job security is far more complex than just a simple win-loss column. And frankly, it's a quintessential Giants conundrum, a moment that defines the delicate balance between patience and panic for one of the NFL's cornerstone franchises. Our starting point today comes from the excellent reporting of Jonathan Jones over at CBS Sports. Now, Jones is a guy with connections, someone who can sniff out the real story in the league's backrooms. And what he's reporting is fascinating. Despite the growing fan unrest, the impression inside the league is that nothing has changed regarding Schoen's status since the team made its official, albeit surprising, announcement last month. If you remember that statement, and how could you forget? It announced the firing of head coach Brian Daboll. A tough, but perhaps necessary, decision given the way things had completely imploded. But crucially, that same release emphatically declared that Schoen would remain in his post to help lead the franchise's all-important search for the next head coach. That's a huge vote of confidence, or at least a powerful indication of the ownership's immediate plans. It suggests that, in the eyes of the Giants brass, the fundamental problem resided on the sidelines, in the coaching structure and staff, not necessarily in the foundational talent acquisition process led by the general manager. But here's the classic NFL caveat, the twist that keeps the soap opera running. Jones also stressed that this is not a definitive, ironclad guarantee. The GM chair is always a hot seat, and Schoen could very well be the next domino to fall before the end of the season, or shortly thereafter. The key trigger: if a highly coveted, big-name head coaching candidate, the kind of coach that fans are dreaming of, a true difference-maker, insists on bringing his own general manager into the organization. That's the kind of power play that even an established owner like John Mara would have to seriously consider. The league is a star-driven business, and sometimes you have to sacrifice one piece of the puzzle to land the biggest, most crucial piece. The other point Jones made? Schoen is reportedly very well regarded across the league. He's seen as a sharp mind, an organizational guy who's great to work with. That reputation, that currency of goodwill among his peers, is not insignificant. It suggests that if the Giants do let him go, he's not going to be on the unemployment line for long. But let's be honest, that reputation isn't going to soothe the collective agony of the Big Blue faithful right now. Now, let's pivot to the man himself. Because to his credit, Joe Schoen hasn't been hiding behind closed doors. He stood up in front of the press this week, on Tuesday, and delivered a rare dose of accountability. And you have to respect a person who owns their mistakes. Schoen was direct, saying, "Did I make mistakes? No doubt. No doubt. But I'm not going to repeat the same mistake, and we're going to continue to improve, and we're going to evaluate everything." That's a human response. That's leadership. But what exactly was that biggest mistake? What's the phantom that haunts the 2023 to 2024 Giants? Schoen himself seems to believe, and many analysts agree, that his single biggest error was allowing the surprising, intoxicating, and ultimately deceptive success of the 2022 season to knock him off the initial course of the rebuild. Remember 2022. The team, led by Brian Daboll and Daniel Jones, went 9-7-1. They clinched a playoff berth. They actually won a road playoff game against the Minnesota Vikings. It was a magical, unexpected run. It gave the Big Blue fanbase a taste of glory they hadn't felt in years, harkening back to the days of Super Bowl 42 and XLVI, those defining moments when the Giants played Giant Slayer against the mighty New England Patriots dynasty. But that success, that little bit of premature sunshine, convinced Schoen that the team was further along in the process than it actually was. Instead of staying disciplined and continuing to reinforce the young core, focusing on depth, shoring up every single unit with premium draft capital. He acted like the team was a few pieces away from being a contender. He gave the big contract extensions. He shifted from a pure rebuild mentality to a contend now mentality. And when that delicate, fragile house of cards inevitably collapsed around him, as it did this season, with regression from key players and devastating injuries, the bottom fell out of the record. Schoen and his team have been scrambling ever since, trying to perform triage on a wound that's far deeper than they anticipated. But let's be balanced. Schoen isn't wrong when he argues that he got some things right, too. Everybody makes mistakes, and we got some things right as well, he insisted. The most important thing is learning from those mistakes, reflecting on the process, and identifying where you went wrong, and continuing to get better. And that's the professional standard. He inherited a mess, a truly disastrous salary cap situation, and a depleted roster from the previous regime. The fact that he was able to field a playoff team, even a surprising one, in 2022 suggests he does have an eye for talent and an understanding of team building. To truly understand the weight of this situation, you have to understand the New York Giants franchise. We're not talking about a team with a short, fleeting history. We're talking about a charter member of the NFL, a team that predates most of the league's current stadiums, a team that played at the Polo Grounds and Yankee Stadium before settling into the Meadowlands complex and eventually MetLife. This is a team with 8 NFL championships, including those 4 glorious Super Bowl titles. Their legacy is etched in the hard-hitting grit of the NFC East, defined by legendary figures like Lawrence Taylor, the greatest defensive player of all time, the ferocious pass rushing of Michael Strahan, the cerebral leadership of Phil Simms, and the clutch moments delivered by Eli Manning. The Giants fanbase, the Big Blue Wrecking Crew supporters, are passionate, demanding, and accustomed to high standards. Giants fans, the drama is far from over. This is not just about the XS and OS on Sunday. This is about the soul of the franchise. It's about the legacy of Big Blue and the path back to relevance in a league that moves brutally fast. The next few months, starting with the coaching hire and leading right into the NFL draft, where the Giants, for better or worse, are projected to have a high pick, will determine the fate of the franchise for the next decade. Keep your eyes on the news, keep your notifications on, and hold on to your Big Blue jerseys tight. We'll be here every step of the way, breaking down every trade, every hire, and every hopeful step the Giants take on their road back to glory. What do you think? Should Joe Schoen be given the keys to pick the next head coach, or is it time for a completely fresh start? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like this video, subscribe to the End Zone Report for the deepest NFL analysis, and we'll see you next time as we continue to track the Giants' big dilemma. Go Big Blue!